It is so exciting to envision and plan a retreat. And very often, that's where the excitement stops. Because then you've got to market the retreat, and that's where a lot of people don't really enjoy spending their time. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how to market your retreat in a way that's joyful, energy rich, and drives results. So in this video, I'm first going to address some of the challenges of marketing your retreat, and then of course, I'll get into the solutions. The first of which is how to market your retreat through outreach, through personal one-on-one connection. I'm also going to get into how to get referrals for your retreat. And that is, by the way, one of my absolute favorite ways to fill a retreat. I'm also going to talk about content marketing strategies to attract clients to you so you don't have to do so much outbound work. And I'm going to get into the use of speaking as a strategy to fill your events. I'm also going to touch on networking and attending other people's retreats and events to create relationships and build new business. And finally, I'm going to talk about how to outreach to past clients and friends and family to get them to not only attend your retreat, but also to help you fill it up. Some of the challenges that I often see people run across when it's time to market their retreat is that they have invested already so much time and often money in developing the retreat that they feel attached to the outcomes of enrollment. Meaning, they get on a sales conversation and they go straight into sales mode, whether or not the person on the other end of the line is a fit, because they feel that pressure to fill the event and make up for what they've already invested. So that's one problem. Another issue I found when it comes to marketing a retreat is that a lot of times people don't really enjoy marketing because they're trying to do the marketing that they think they should do instead of marketing that actually feels enjoyable, marketing that actually aligns with their true nature and their true personality. Now, this is something that happened to me, and in this video, I'm going to share with you some ways to market and caution you to choose the ones that align with your personality rather than trying to do all of them. So the first piece of advice that I have for you that's going to solve this problem is going to sound crazy and counterintuitive. And that is, don't market the retreat. Market instead a meaningful conversation with you. Now, the reason for that is that in my experience, filling a retreat, especially one that's a high price point, high value proposition, intimate setting, filling a retreat like that involves having a conversation. I've never seen anyone successfully, consistently fill events like this with an online funnel or having people click on a link and sign themselves up. And quite honestly, you don't even want to do it that way. If you're serious about having a deep and transformational experience, then it matters who's in the room, because one bad apple with this model can truly spoil the bunch. So in order to protect that space that you're creating and really create almost a sacred space for your people to come and have the transformation and outcomes they're looking for, you have to curate the experience, meaning you have to curate the other attendees that are there. And that means having a meaningful conversation. So I personally rarely market my retreat. What I market instead is let's talk. Let's see if and how I can serve you. And once I know that I have someone who's deeply interested, who's a good fit for our culture, who I know I can serve, that's when I share that I have a retreat. So because you're not marketing the retreat itself, and instead you're marketing a meaningful conversation with you, you want to make sure that you do nail down what is the outcome that people are seeking from connecting with you further. You'll want to define the promise that your retreat fulfills. Now, you don't have to let everybody know up front that it's a retreat that's going to get them that promise, but if you lead with the promise, people are going to be more interested. So in other words, when I'm marketing my retreat, what I'm actually saying is, if you want a more meaningful business model that generates more income and more impact, let's hop on a conversation. Let's have a business breakthrough call. And on that call, I'm going to add value to you, and we'll see what steps we'll take next. So notice I didn't talk about my retreat, but I am enticing them with the promise of the retreat. One way to market your retreat that, quite honestly, most people avoid and resist is simply to do outreach. Once you're clear about the outcome of the event and who your event is for, my guess is that you'll have at least a handful of people on your mind that you're thinking would be perfect for your retreat. My advice? Call them up. shoot them a text. Ask them if they want to hop on a phone conversation. Now, here's the thing. You want to be careful. If you haven't reached out to someone in a while, you don't want to reach out and say, I've got this thing I want to sell you, or I want to tell you about this retreat I want you to register for. Instead, what I recommend you doing is a softer approach. Something along the lines of, hey, Betty, I have this new thing that I'm creating that I'm really excited about and that I'd love to share with you. Are you open to having a conversation in the next week or so? Usually a soft outreach like that is the perfect way to get on the phone with somebody and re-engage. And here's the thing, I don't try to sell them the retreat right then and there. I share with them what I'm doing, and if they sound interested, then I set up a follow-up call in which we really talk about whether or not the retreat might be for them. So I highly encourage the outreach, but I don't recommend going straight into sales mode. Another way to drive enrollments for your retreat is through referrals. Now, if you've never done a retreat before, this particular strategy may not fully suit you, but if you are doing retreats, then one of the absolute best things you can do is carve out some time towards the end of the retreat, when people have already gotten a whole lot of value from what you've already delivered and are feeling grateful and appreciative. At that point, it's a great time to take a moment and remind people to check in with all the value that they've gotten so far. And then once they've identified that value, you might even have them write it down and ask the question, what have you gotten from this event so far? And they write it down and then invite them to consider, who do they know that could use similar outcomes? Is there someone or more than one person in their life that they could think of that would benefit from an experience like this one? And then what we do is we get their names, the names that they write down, we collect them, and then we follow up with the retreat participant a couple of days later and request an introduction to those people. So that's a great way to generate referrals. Now, if you don't already have a retreat within which you can do that, you can go back to past clients and ask them for referrals. Ask them to remember all the value that they got out of working with you, and do they know anybody who could potentially benefit like they did from working with you. One of the primary ways that I market my retreats, and I recommend my clients market theirs, is using a content marketing approach. Meaning, instead of focusing on marketing and selling, I focus on teaching. I focus on adding value and sharing my knowledge and wisdom with others. And then, with every single teaching interaction, I offer some call to action that gets them closer to a meaningful conversation with me. For example, in these videos, I often invite you to download something for free so that you'll then become part of my network and I can continue to communicate with you. And eventually, if it feels like a good match, you might set up a time to talk to me and learn about my upcoming retreats and services. Hint, hint, if you want to do that, you can click on the link below. And so I call this strategy content marketing, or a thought leadership strategy. And I'm not going to go deep into it here because we have limited time on this video, but I have a whole playlist about how to position yourself as a thought leader and how to use content marketing to get your products and services out there. So I highly recommend checking that out. You can click on the link up there or below. Now, absolutely one of my favorite marketing strategies for everything, and especially for my retreats, is speaking. Speaking is pretty much the easiest way to establish immediate credibility with a person. When somebody puts you on a stage, they're basically saying, this is an expert who I trust. And that trust goes a really long way. So long, in fact, that if you can't get speaking engagements, maybe you're new or you've never done that before, what I would recommend doing is to create your own. That's how I got started. I had a little taste of speaking one day. I was invited by the Miami Beach Chamber to do a presentation, and I fell in love. It was absolutely the coolest experience, and I wanted more. So of course, I immediately went out and started calling other people to see if I could get speaking engagements, other chambers, other associations, and very few of them said yes. And I realized that I was going to have to take matters into my own hands. So I created my own events. I created workshops and seminars, and all I would do was create really funky, funny, kind of wacky titles. For example, You're Not Crazy, It's Just Your Personality Type, which was all about Myers-Briggs personality testing. And I got people to show up. I asked the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, basically my only really good association contact, if they would partner with me on the event and sponsor it for free in exchange for promoting it to their audience? And they said yes. So I highly recommend doing events in order to fill your events. People who come to a workshop or a seminar are way more likely to want to come to a retreat because they already like events. So again, try to get yourself some speaking engagements, whether live or virtual, but also consider creating your own. Another way to market and promote your retreats is to network and become connected with people who are already in touch with your ideal audience. That means going to conferences and seminars and becoming part of organizations and associations that serve your same people. What I found is that it's really helpful to surround myself with people who are working with the same audience that I work with and finding ways to collaborate with them rather than compete with them. And of course, an excellent strategy for marketing and filling your retreats is to go back to happy past clients and see where they are and see if they're ready for a touch-up. When it came time for me to do my very first retreat, I actually went back to my most immediate past clients, the people who had just finished my recent program, and I offered them a really great, no-brainer, you gotta say yes to this opportunity to be in my beta retreat. They all said yes. And guess what? 3 of them out of 4 actually ended up enrolling into my big back-end follow-up program from my retreat. If you're looking for some creative and engaging ways to market your retreat, look no further. Go ahead and click on the link below, superstaractivator.com/go, and set up a time to chat with me. I have a lot of resources, ideas, and tools for you to use to market and promote your retreats.